How you doing? I'm Ken, this is Ed. Today I'm going to talk about Wing Chun shifting. I'm going to start off by talking about some of the basic mechanics, some of the basic things you want to feel, and I'm going to go into a couple simple drills you can do to help develop your shifting. Remember, shifting is a developmental drill because shifting is ingrained into all the footwork we do. You may never actually shift to apply Wing Chun, but shifting is there every time you move your feet. That's why it's of critical importance. So I'm going to have Ed just get into a Jichi Kimima stance, and I have this pole here to define his center line. Now, just a couple of things to review. Obviously, he's standing straight. His hips are rolled forward, his knees are bent naturally, ankles are bent naturally, and the weight of his body is centered in between the heel of the foot and the ball of the foot. Now, a big mistake that people usually do when they shift is they don't keep their hips rolled forward. The hips is what's connect the body to the legs. Without that rolling the hips forward, you won't be able to shift properly. Another thing that I want to talk about is that we always shift 50-50. If you shift 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, 90-10, 100-0, you'll never be able to develop proper flow in your footwork. Because when you walk, you naturally walk 50-50. You don't walk in any other staggered stance. If you did that, you'd be walking back and forth. You'd be wobbling back and forth with your center going back and forth. That would never allow you to walk in a straight line from going from point A to point B. So for example, when Ed shifts, just let's say if he shifts to his right, you notice here that his center is still in line with this pole. Now if he shifts back to the center, and let's say he shifts in a 60-40 incorrect stance back to his right in a 60-40 stance, you notice here how his center is no longer in line with this pole. Alright, so let's go back to the center. Now when we shift in Wing Chun, everything starts with our ability to control our center. That's the furnace that drives everything. So when we shift, the shifting motion will actually start with the body. As he starts to shift to his right, the natural torque on the body goes through the hips, having the legs naturally follow. A lot of people always say, oh, you lead with your knees, you lead with your feet. Well, if you do that in Wing Chun, you're not going to be able to control your center properly. Everything starts with the body being able to turn and the legs following from that tension that you'll feel from there. Alright, the other thing I want to mention is when we shift on the heels of our foot. Now yes, you have to remember the weight of our body is centered in between the heel and the ball of the foot, but mechanically speaking, the shift is on the heel of the foot. I'm going to go back to this again. If you shift on the balls of the feet, and let's say if Ed does that, shifting on the balls of the feet, you notice again here, his center is not in line with this pole. That again means his center is wavering back and forth as he'd be walking. Nobody walks that way. Nobody naturally walks that way. So why would you try to develop a skill that way that would lead to improper application? So that's why, if he goes back to the center, that's why when we shift, mechanically speaking, we are shifting on the heels of the feet. Now let's go do a couple drills that we can do to help you develop proper Wing Chun shifting. The first one is going to be a basic drill, and that's just going to be shifting approximately 15 degrees. So when you shift, just think small shifting. So Ed's going to shift to his right, good, and just shift back to his left, just about 15 degrees. The whole idea is when you shift, let's say he shifts to his right again, you should be able to control your center before and after the shift. So once he shifts here, he needs to recheck his center and make sure that he's in full control of it and he's still in line. And when he shifts back to the left all the way, okay, you need to check your center again. Because if you're shifting back and forth and your center is wavering, if you go to try to apply Wing Chun, you're probably going to get knocked over when you go to apply it, which is no good. So once you're able to get a hold on this stable drill, shifting back and forth, roughly 15 degrees, now we're going to go to a higher level drill. So let's go back to the center. We're going to do this drill. This is from the Chum Q form, the second form of Wing Chun. So what Ed's going to do is just take his arms here, double Lanzao position, and he's going to shift all the way to his right. Now you notice here, his feet stop at 45 degrees, but his body is turning a full 180 degrees. When he shifts back to the left, notice here, he's still in the center. That's good shifting. He's not wavering back and forth. He has full control of his center at this point. Now the reason why we shift the body 180 degrees and the feet are still staying 45 degrees is because this is actually helping exercising your hips for future kicking application. So again, he shifts back one more time. Good. You see, once again, he's able to maintain his center. So remember, when you do this drill, always stop, check your center before you do the shifting again. All right, good luck.